Got a weird patch in my beard. Alright. Hello, second channel crew who catching up on this. Just going to make this public on the live stream right now. I hope everyone's alright. It always feels like a long time when I don't stream. Like from... so I stream on a Thursday and on a Tuesday, so obviously it's quite a long break. But yeah, I hope everyone's okay. Let's get the live stream chat ready for you. And let's stick this on my various... various social medias. Oh, what's going on? That's the wrong link, actually. Delete. Sorry, I posted the wrong thing. Alright, this link. Alright, just gonna stick this on my Discord. That's better. And if you just think this is like a video, obviously I stream this stuff. It's on the second channel if you can't hang around for the whole thing. Stuck this, let's put it on the Twitter and then we're good. So, live right now, dude. Alright, sweet. And yeah, today I was thinking about like what should I talk about, because I've been thinking about Zack Snyder. I've had Zack Snyder on the brain today. And who can forget? And I'm going to probably play it for you. Literally, like, one of my favourite moments since I started covering this stuff a bit more with, like, anti-SJWs is when Zack Snyder just, like, dabbed on these guys right to their faces. Like, I'm still... I can't watch it and not laugh and stuff. So I'm just having a look at my little book. Planning some stuff tomorrow. Twitter followers... But yeah, hope everyone's good. Hope everyone's been enjoying the content lately. Feels like the growth is you know, we're stagnating a tiny bit in terms of subs, but the views are still good. Like, I'm averaging about, I'd say like 10k after a couple days on a video, so that's all nice and everything. Have a couple ideas for the rest of the week. Not really sure what I'm going to do. I might just have a look at my little schedule. But yeah, I hope everyone's been enjoying my part. I enjoyed making that one yesterday. Happy it did well, actually, because it's one of those ones which is like quite niche. Like, I'm talking about the Vietnam, and I'm talking about like Trump supporters and stuff. Weirdly, weirdly it didn't get monetized, which is very strange, because the stuff YouTube is just very annoying. The stuff that they do monetize after you demonetize it yourself is really bizarre. And then the stuff like that, like, I don't understand what I was talking about in that video that was so, like, outrageous. And I purposely went out of my way to not be really explicit about, like, war and stuff. And they still demonetized it after I reviewed it myself. And I've been good at reviewing it. So YouTube is very annoying about these things. So just read. So what did I do today? Exercise. Yes. Oh. Live stream. But yeah, today, basically... I check in with the Geeks and Gamers channel every so often and have a look. And I'm going to get into it later, but it seems like there isn't as much effort being put in his main channel anymore. And I can show you why, because he's actually shifted his content to other forms, not just like nerd media and stuff. Live stream. Okay, I'll do some knee rehab tonight maybe as well. Oh yeah, anyone in the chat, have you ever had like a really bad knee injury? I injured my knee ligament damage on like Christmas Eve 2019. Still hurts. I need a scan really, but the NHS has been really shit lately. Alright, there we go. That's my... I'm just filling in my schedule for the week. Alright, I'll start replying to some of the chat now. I just haven't been looking at it. Alright, live chats. Hello everyone. We've got some comments already. Hi Kaylee, hi Wampa Juiced, hi Esoteric Yom. I know you're semi-regular as well. Paradise, hey, Snoopy. Hi Harry, thanks for joining. Hi Xavier. Lots of you now. This seems out of left field. Hi, makes no money. He is. Please let it be true. Was effort ever put in? We can only hope. I had TB on my knee. What's TB? Like, I'm not. It's not the actual like TB. So the grifter's finally pissing off. Great news. No, they're doing something else, which is actually going quite well for them, I think. The only reason I have this video up on screen is we're gonna watch the Zack Snyder stuff, which is so fucking hilarious. I've also got another video which I found more footage of them praising Zack Snyder before he like shouted over them. Also tomorrow, I might make a video about why reactionaries like Zack Snyder before he dabbed in them. So the main thing I'm thinking about is 300 sort of has like a lot of nationalist themes, or at least you can view 300 in a very nationalist way. I was watching Curio's video on it a bit, but I don't have time to watch all their videos on Zack Snyder. But they were talking about how 300 was shown to the troops before invading like Iraq or some Iraqi battle or something. And obviously you have Spartans are very prominent in like far right imagery and everything, especially in places like Greece. But yeah, I was thinking of making a video on that tomorrow, and I was also going to make a video about how YouTubers are like really shitty bosses, because you have the stuff with Mr. Beast, you have the stuff with James Charles, and you have the stuff with David Dobrik as well. I don't know how popular. The thing is sometimes like I talk about commentary style like YouTube stuff, and you think it'd do it a bit better, but I don't know. I kind of want to talk about it, but we'll see. So Kyle, why did they show it to you? Is it just like entertainment, or they actually like watch this like for war? Yeah, Frank Miller, who has like quite far right leanings and stuff. What do you mean the Zack Snyder videos I'm talking about? But he also gave an interview recently where he said he wasn't a Republican or right wing. So I need to read that as well. In terms of other ideas for content, before we get into what I want to talk about today, I'm just going to go into my list quick because I've just got a giant list on my notes of loads of videos, so I never run out. So you guys, I think you guys will like this one, but the problem is it's like, do I have to like analyze the movie? So I say how the right wing adopt left wing movie stuff. So like The Matrix and red pilling, because obviously The Matrix is like a lefty movie anyway, but red pilling's about being like transgender. And obviously Snowflake, the term comes from the book Fight Club, obviously made into a really popular film. I need to finish my Boo series. So I've got Avera Boos versus Rhodey Boos. And the annoying thing I've done is I blocked a lot because my Rhodesia video got posted on like a pro Rhodesia Facebook group. So I was getting brigaded by like all these white nationalist types. So I just started banning all of them. But the problem was I could have used that for this content, which I'm a bit annoyed by. Here's one, if any of you got experience of it. So apparently Hearts of Iron, the game, has a community full of Verabus who love the Wehrmacht and stuff. If any of you are in that community and have experienced this stuff, give me a message on something. So I want to make a video on this, but it's kind of hard. I wanted to do one on Jordan Peterson's Channel 4 interview with that woman. Like, Jordan Peterson owns feminists, but I know Channel 4 is like absolutely notorious for copywriting videos. Something about gun YouTubers might be good as well. Like how, not like how it's alt-right, but how like you get a lot of reactionaries in the gun community, like online gun community. So I had that video last night about South Vietnamese conservatives, so that's done. Can tick that off. British Empire boos. I mean, I could possibly do that. Australian far right is one I want to do as well. So that's all the ideas I've got at the moment. Might focus on the, I don't know, all that stuff recently. Take some more comments and then we'll get into what I want to talk about. What's wrong with those videos? Are you just like a massive Snyder fan or something? Carl says in the military, it was mostly for entertainment. We were bored as hell. But I mean, the stuff they show was all pro-military. That's not surprising. You're probably not being shown Platoon in your camp. Caribou. I don't know if I ever said I do caribou video, but it's probably, yeah, the caribou in the Boo series. They Live, yeah, is another one. Okay, let's get into the video, right? So, Geeks and Gamers, we call Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers. Obviously, his name, well, his YouTube name isn't even Geeks and Gamers. So I just I'm making some observations, and I'll point out what I'm thinking right now. All right, let's zoom in a bit more. So the channel hasn't been doing amazing lately, right? For a channel on this side, 300k. Remember, I have 33k, right? And these views are kind of similar, if not a bit. These views in general average views kind of like my own, although they do have some spikes and stuff. So you had the standard crap, but like, okay, for people who don't understand this, right? So the guy on the thumbnail of this live stream is called Jeremy, and he like owns this brand, Geeks and Gamers. But Geeks and Gamers is apparently collaborative, but he is the guy on most of the videos, Jeremy. This guy that you can see it playing here. But then you have another guy here. I think that's that Ryan Kinnell guy. Hang on, put myself down a bit. But then they've just been posting, like, it's just been a bit inconsistent lately. So you've got, this has got 48k views, so that's done well. 6k, this is kind of weird, like it's not their really style of content. Then you have another one, 36, pretty good. And then you have, you know, other stuff here, 5k, 43. So the stuff with Jeremy normally does okay, right? And then the stuff with the other people where they're kind of like trying to pivot a bit isn't the best thing. So he has a weird thing, like, it's like kind of conventional coverage for a nerd channel, which isn't like this sort of shit. But basically I've just been noticing he used to bang out videos more like quartering style, like loads and loads and loads. And it feels like, although this is quite a lot for them, it feels like it's cooling off a bit. So once they they have a 4-day break in between these videos, but that video is not even covering this reactionary garbage, right? So that's 1 day ago. So 1 day ago, and then this is the 17th between them. So it's not like the most, and you could, if they want to, like in many of these channels, they could really grift this stuff. And it felt like before, see the views, look at this, 200k, 40k, 100, look at the views here, they're so good for them. But then you go up here, like, you know, it's just going a bit down, the spiral's going a bit down. And I can't see, like, you keep looking, the last 100k video they had, you know, even my video on this Jordan Peterson Red Skull thing did better than their one. So the last time they had a 100k video was the Zack Snyder one. But of course I did, because even mine did really well for that. But yeah, so it seems like they've cooled off. Are they going away? Are they leaving? No, which you guys might not know, which I discovered like a couple months ago. They have a new channel called Sports Wars, which they're uploading very regularly on, and you could argue the average views are actually better. So basically what they've branched out to is doing this far right, like reactionary garbage, but in sports. So it's all about like the politics of sports, and basically like shitting on the so-called like woke NBA. So this has been going on for like a while now, but like the views are pretty good. And I don't know what the strategy here is with this stuff. Like, is this guy like a massive sports fan? I highly, highly doubt it. But maybe he is. Most Americans love their NFL at least. But this guy seems... But look. So look at these... let's zoom in a bit more. Look at these thumbnails. Is it surprising that they're actually all focused on black athletes and criticising them? So look, we've got... literally is LeBron James in like all of these thumbnails. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, not 5. 5. But this, who's this guy? Who's the guy in the Trump hat? Does anyone know? I'm going to take comments. Is it like a black NBA player who loves Trump or something? Yeah, 1 sec. Gonna get some comments quick, and then we'll go back. All right. Does anyone know who the Trump hat guy is? Premier League all day, yeah. Premier League's the best. Who's watching Man United versus Villarreal tomorrow? I really hope we don't lose. This week in sports, just while we're on the sport topic, could be like the best or worst in a while, because I got Brentford, who I support as well. Got Brentford so I got Man United versus Villarreal tomorrow, so I need Man United to win. Then I got Brentford on Saturday. I got Brentford versus Swansea, and if Brentford win, they go into the Premier League, first time in like 90 years or something crazy. And then we got Chelsea versus City on Saturday as well. Oh, by the way, if you just have like a casual interest in sports, the final tomorrow and the final on Saturday are free on YouTube on BT Sport. I don't know if you can watch that in the States or something. Worth checking out. But then if United lose, Brentford lose, and City win, I'll just be absolutely devastated. I'll never live it down. That's what I hate about like sport banter. Just like my friends will be texting me like straight away if United lose. Anyway, okay, someone thinks it's a Photoshop. Well, I keep going. So anyway, like it's basically a reactionary channel, and it seems just the sole purpose of it is about shitting on LeBron James, but just like generally like black athletes. And why I hate this stuff, and why I just hate like, okay, this is a weird one, right? Because sport culture in many countries, and I'll give you a bit of a history lesson here. Sport culture in many countries is predominantly left wing. You obviously have certain clubs that have fascist leanings. You have like Lazio in Italy. I think Mussolini's great grandson plays for Lazio. And then you have Rangers in the UK. And the issue with Rangers is in Glasgow. So you have Glasgow Rangers and Glasgow Celtic. Celtic is basically Irish club, Catholic club. And because the main settlers in Northern Ireland were Scottish, the Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland thing plays into this team. So there's been really bad sectarian violence between them. But generally as a whole, most football clubs, like soccer clubs, they sprung up from working class communities. Many soccer clubs, like Arsenal, for example, was the football team of like the armaments factory in North London. I played for a football team, like semi-pro. I've basically quit now because my knee's too dodgy. But it was named after like a science centre. And it's been going on for like 100 years. And then you have many teams across England that are just named after like, steelworks, named after local communities of anything. So they're proper like community-led clubs, and even like lower league stuff is pretty much like, it's left wing in the sense that it's for working class communities to have a sense of community. Whereas in America, it's all franchise shit. Like, what club was it that moved to LA? Like, is it the Rams or something? Because what's happening now in British sports is the guys who own these like NFL or NBA franchises are buying or have bought Premier League clubs in Britain. So the owners of Man United, Liverpool, and I think there's one other, they also own NFL clubs, and they tried to join something called the European Super League, which would essentially be like a MLS NFL style league, no relegation, about the richest clubs just playing all the time. And it came from a real American capitalist mindset. So it's not surprising that American sports in general, in terms of like, they can't understand where sport comes from. And football's called the people's game, working class game, where something like NFL is completely, and even NBA as well, it's just completely for capitalism, profit, the spectacle. And a lot of sports in America do not have the wider issues and stuff. For example, there's a club called Bath FC in the UK, and it has an initiative to help Syrian refugees integrate with the community, and it offers them free tickets to games, offers the kids like free training sessions with like the children's version of the club, free food and stuff to go there to encourage these Syrian refugees who've recently moved to Bath after everything that's going on in Syria to integrate the community. I doubt you can imagine any of these clubs here doing this stuff. So I don't think this sort of channel, like a really right-wing sports channel, would ever work in soccer. It would never work, because in soccer, whether people know it or not, they are primarily anti-capitalist in their stances towards this franchise stuff you get in America. And for example, the Super League, the fans just went like crazy at what these American owners who own like NBA, NFL teams were trying to do to European football, make it more like an NFL style system. And if you know, one thing that gives me a bit of hope, if you go on the soccer Reddit, they've always been pretty good at this, like, politics stuff. So, like, the Palestinian thing, lots of people supporting the football players waving Palestinian flags. Can you imagine, even, like, you know, these players who are pretty decent on, like, race issues? Could you imagine many of them whipping out a Palestinian flag if they won the NBA title? But that's what happened in the UK. So it's very, very different, the politics of sports in European countries. And while you have clubs like Rangers and Lazio, you have clubs like Liverpool or Manchester United, and not saying the people who own these clubs are very different from the Americans, because often they are the same, because they are, but the fan bases of them aren't just in it for like different reasons. It's like it's very integral to the local community, and that's why there's just an absolute crazy amount of clubs. Like, obviously I'm from London, the amount of clubs here, like football clubs, is mental. Like, there's just absolutely so many football clubs, and even in the top leagues like Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two, there are loads of London clubs. If you go down even further to like the 11, I think it's the 11 tiers of English football, there's just so many London clubs, because it's just such a part of the community. Where in America, it's all been like totally franchised and like really crap. And I know there is like semi-pro not NFL, semi-pro like American football, baseball. There are like more local, community-driven sports in America. But I don't think in America, if you want to make a living from sport or have it as your job, you've got to be playing in the big leagues. Where in the UK, you can be playing in lower leagues and it can be your job, because the money is there, and it's like something that the local community will always support and like. So my local club, sort of local, in London, I think they get about like 15k fans, but like, just because they've been doing a lot better, there's a lot of money to go around for the players and everything, but they still rely on this community support. And a lot of clubs have been going under because of the lack of funds, because they're not getting crowds in every week. But yeah, so this stuff is like why I hate this sort of garbage. It's very insidious, because you might subscribe to one of these channels if you're just into sports, and you might subscribe to his main channel if you're into games. But then what you're fed is just like far right politics pretending it's sports coverage. And obviously he does it with his main channel, right? But he also has a politics channel as well. So this is like, obviously I think his politics are garbage, but the reason I don't really give a shit about this stuff as much is because it is politics and it's not pretending to be something else, and there's no real coat around it, right? If you're watching this channel, you're watching it for politics, even though it's like, you know, far right Trump supporting garbage. Like, look at it. It's not posing as something else. Where I worry, and I always say when I talk about this nerd culture stuff, is I really worry about how influential this type of stuff is, or influential, let's go back even further, influential this type of stuff is on young people. And a lot of you, here's the thing as well, a lot of you have messaged me and commented on these videos saying, I used to watch this stuff and I was really close to becoming far right. Loads of people have messaged me that. Someone actually made a post on BreadTube saying how me and the serfs basically stopped them from becoming like this guy because we always debunked it and stuff. And that's like a, you know, one way I've, you know, I feel proud of it contributing to like the wider world, is that if that helps one person stop them from becoming far right, and that's, you know, good work done by me, I guess. But lots of people have said it, like, you know, they just watch this stuff for Star Wars. Some people saying they got into the courtroom because of Magic the Gathering, and then before they know it, they're subscribing to all these channels, and they're just getting a very, very reactionary far-right perspective on the world. But it primarily stems from entertainment, because what I made my Last Jedi video on was like, people didn't like The Last Jedi. I didn't like The Last Jedi. I didn't like, you know, the general sequel trilogy, but my reasons for not liking it are something I can articulate quite well, because, you know, I'm a massive film lover. I love entertainment and stuff, and I'm also very critical. But for a lot of people, when you watch something like that, and especially if you're raised as a Star Wars fan, you're kind of looking for answers, like, why is this film not like the others? Why do I like this one? Or like, why do I like Rogue One but hate the sequel trilogy? Why do I like The Mandalorian but hate the sequel trilogy? Well, if maybe I'm not as critical, or maybe I'm younger or something, or maybe it's just like a gut reaction, like I can't really explain why I don't like these films, these people seem to have the answers, right? They speak with authority, and there's loads of them. So if loads of people were all saying the same shit, your Star Wars was ruined by these people, Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy. They were ruined by other people, right? Because of their political agenda. And then you watch all these channels, especially if you're naive and young and dumb and stuff. I can see how you might fall for this crap. And it's basically giving you an explanation to why something you like is actually bad and why it's gone bad. And that's why I feel like it's pretty insidious, because also I say a guy like Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers and some of the other people, I guess in America, if you're in the American context, the overtone window is shifted so far right. You might see a guy like this and think, like, typical Trump supporter. Like, I know loads of people like him, but maybe because it's like I'm from like a European perspective, this guy's politics are like extremely hard right, and I'd say leaning far right. Like, and people often think like far right, this guy's not a Nazi. And that's not what far right necessarily means, right? Because a guy who loves Donald Trump, and you think about what Donald Trump stands for, and this guy knows what Donald Trump stands for. He's not like, your run of the mill, maybe like a poor white, maybe working class suburban family who just always votes Republican because that's what everyone does in their community. This is a guy who understands what he likes about Trump, and he votes for Trump for particular reasons. This guy knows what Trump's stance is on things like nationalism or things like immigration, racism, everything like that. So this guy, in my opinion, that's why I say American conservatives are far right, because in the UK, and I said this on Mike from PA Stream, I talked about how the Conservatives present themselves in the UK. Like, we're modern Conservatives. Look at our cabinet, very diverse, Asian female Home Secretary, lots of black people in the cabinet as well. Look at us, very progressive. Happy Eid, happy Ramadan, happy all these things. We're the party for all British people. We're just conservative. Whereas in the US, it's full on mask off, like war on critical race theory, war on teaching children properly about the history of America, saying like this is a Christian country, and all this, really xenophobic fear-mongering about immigration, like mask-off fear-mongering. And I'm not saying the Tory party doesn't do that, but it's always been better at not being mask-off. Maybe because that's the overturned window in the UK, wouldn't really be as susceptible to that kind of fear-mongering in terms of just being like, don't even sugarcoat it, just say it. And that's why, I really have a problem with anti-SJW channels. And anti-SJWs in general, like Angry Joe, right, is probably, I'd say, centrist, centre-left. But he still moans about SJWs, and he uses similar language often for people like this. He was freaking out and giving a massive, rage about The Last of Us Part 2 because of the leaks and everything. So he can be a bit of a chud as well. But my problem is, when this is your world online, these are the people you follow on Twitter, these are the people you watch their videos, and the most left-wing voice you listen to is Angry Joe, then you have this like other echo chamber around everything else. I do feel like it's very problematic for a lot of young people. So for me, like my echo chamber, like what I watched on YouTube when I was like 15, 16 was like, if I try to remember what I used to watch, I watched a lot of Young Turks, which I'm grateful for, like, just for keeping me educated on American politics, but obviously consuming more progressive content I think was good for me as well. And then generally just like film stuff like IGN, PlayStation Access, which is weird because my friend actually works there now, but other stuff like that. Well, not my friend, someone I went to uni with, which is kind of weird. Yeah, so I went to uni with one person and then they worked for PlayStation Access, and it's weird going back on my old YouTube account and seeing my search history and watch history, and it's all their videos, and now she works there. It's just a really weird thing to happen. But then, yeah, I watched them, and I watched people who would generally covered like nerd media in a pretty more like respectable, less reactionary way, and other things like, Collider, who used to cover movies. And although there's not really any politics there, you can tell these people aren't reactionaries, which I think was good for me. But I always wonder, what would I look like if I accidentally, because I think my politics have always been fairly progressive and stuff. I never had a period. I had my like maybe edgy atheist period, but I used to support Bernie Sanders, like even in 2015 when I was like, 18, 19, and other stuff like that. But I'm wondering if I was really into my Marvel and Star Wars, like I used to be a lot more into back in the day, would I fall for this stuff? Would I watch this guy? And I would say no, but of course you never know, really. Like if this was, and also that Star Wars theory, when you collab with people like this, and maybe you have a high opinion of someone like Star Wars theory, you start asking yourselves, well, if this guy thinks this guy's fine, and I respect Star Wars theory, who seems like pretty okay for politics stuff, then maybe this guy isn't so bad. Anyway, I want to get into the Zack Snyder stuff a bit as well, but let's just take some comments because I've been talking for a long time. So let's get the live chat up. Sorry, I've been on top chat. So, all right, give me one sec. Some people saying about politics, not politics, football. Right, someone said I'm on the recent quartering video. I'm just having a look. Jake Henry, you still in the chat? What video is it? We can pull this up. Although I don't really want to talk about him anymore. Right. Oh wait, I am in this one. Oh, okay. I am in the new quartering video, but it's because a guy made a video on the quartering and was speaking about me. Okay. Okay, you guys can go watch this. I'm not even gonna get into this shit because like I can't be bothered to deal with this stuff again. But basically, some guy made a video documenting the quartering, so I'm just flicking through it. And he shares a bit of my video where I flick through the Brie Larson stuff, and then there's me. Okay, I'm in it for about a minute or something. Alright, so you guys can go watch that if you want, but I'm not gonna respond to this crap or engage in it just because of what happened last time and what happened to the surf. I can't be bothered to go through like demonetization and shit like that again. So yeah, go check it out if you want. I'm not going to talk about it, which is sad because that's the bad thing about like free speech on YouTube. It's like when you don't have a big channel, you've got to kind of be careful about like what you cover and everything. So as much as I'd want to respond to that stuff, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, go have a look at that if you're interested. But honestly, if you've watched my quartering video about his backstory, then you know what you're in for, basically. James saying, how much racism do you encounter at soccer matches? I've heard some stuff, but obviously I'm not actually like, you know, I'm a white guy in a white country, so I don't hear anything directed to me. But yeah, I have heard some stuff against Muslims and stuff, which is obviously really awful. So Alex Ferguson is borderline communist. Yes, teams came up from left wing, but ultra culture across Europe is very right wing. Yeah, I totally agree. Lazio, Millwall, Istanbul, ultra right. Yep, I agree as well. Rams, okay. Glazers out. Yep. Hi Heather, thanks for joining. Don't know if you're still here. Kroenke owns the Rams. Yeah. Perez is a dick. Okay, I'm reading some more stuff. Yeah, Milan is owned by Silvio Berlusconi. Pogba and Diallo had the Palestine flag, and also the two Leicester players as well. I forgot their names. So Champions League final UK versus UK. Hopefully this means UK will do well in Euro 2021. Yeah, well also we could have had a whole UK Europa final as well. I used to know Jeremy in middle school. Never liked the game. Never liked the guy. Crunchy, if you're still here, what was Jeremy like in school? Let's read some more stuff. Hi Katie, thanks for joining. Robert's saying, I'm studying film journalism in college and I genuinely had to explain to a friend that Kathleen Kennedy wasn't getting fired and they weren't remaking the sequel trilogy. Oh man, like that sort of shit is so hilarious to me. It's just like and it's not even also just from like I talked about that. There's this guy called Mike Zero who isn't like outwardly political, but he just talks about this shit all the time. Like it's just made up. It's not true. It's not happening. Kathleen Kennedy's been getting fired for years. Rogue One is great. I like Rogue One a lot. I never watched Star Wars Fury as in like a older person, but yeah. Star Wars Fury's gone crazy. It was little. He was whining loads about that Pablo thing, which I exposed in my video. Yeah, I love when right wingers praise even the original films as well. Yeah, I've said this a load of times, but Robert's saying Star Wars is literally an allegory for the Vietnamese fighting the Americans, and the prequels were take down on Nixon. Yeah. So gamers are cringe. We're all cringe. The DOP are mask off. I agree. Connor is my new favorite channel. Thank you. I hope it's everyone's favorite channel. Yeah, loads of them tried to distance themselves from Snyder. I'll play the clip a bit later. Yeah, Jimquisition is like a great series. They do. I watched it today, actually. I always watch it. Kavanagh stream about Geeks and Gamers. Sign me up. Sorry, I need to get a better chat system on YouTube. It always just goes up. I think the problem is I just let it go on too long before I go back and read them. All right, read some more. Oh, there's a lady shout singing on the treadmill here at the gym, and I'm trying so hard to keep a straight face. Yeah, I hate when people do ridiculous shit. And I haven't been to a gym since like 2017 because I just have all my equipment at home, and I used to go for runs on the road until I destroyed my knee. But yeah, when people do weird shit at the gym, it's so hard, especially when someone makes a big mistake or something, like falls off a treadmill. Yeah, Mark Ruffalo, took that what he said about Palestine. Yeah, that was disappointing to see. But he's done a lot of good work, so it's more disappointing, obviously, but he's one of the few celebrities who talks about this stuff. Jake Henry, I don't know about any of that war between Midnight's Edge and Mecca Random or whatever it is. Yeah, Southgate called his Euro squad today. Yeah, it's pretty good. The only bad choice is Wan-Bissaka not being in it over James. I don't really understand that. Who's going to win Euro 2021? I'd say Portugal. It honestly depends who gets out of the group because France, Portugal, and Germany are all in the same group. I'd say Portugal, France, England, maybe as well. It depends. England got a really good team. It's gonna be shit though. Sorry. Catching up still. What part of London are you in? I maybe won't say that, but yeah. It's a weird part of London. I went to school in like one of the most diverse parts of London, but I don't live in one of the most diverse parts of London. Geeks and Gamers didn't get popular off the gaming videos. They got popular off the reactionary videos, which means he's had to milk that category dry. Yeah, it seems to have dried up. Vitamin K2 supplements, I'll cure my knee. I don't know what's actually wrong with it. Apparently it's knee ligament damage. But they said about a year ago it was just swollen still. And I said, like, will my knee ever be fully better again? They said, can't be certain and stuff. If Martinez is the next Spurs manager, that would be hilarious. Bruno has Portugal on his back. Yeah, Portugal's team is pretty crazy. Like, Bernardo, Bruno, Ronaldo, João Felix. Decent defenders as well. Jose Fon, Pepe, even though they're like both like 37. Hi, New Broken. So, okay. I just came here. I've never seen your channel before. Oh, how do you find my channel then? Was it recommended to me? Recommended to you on just for the stream? I don't think the stream ever gets recommended. Yeah, Jota Neto. Obviously, like Semedo's decent enough. Ruben Neves, Patricio, and some other people in goal. Like, yeah, it's definitely a decent team. It's just about if they show up. They've been pretty shit lately. I think Ukraine might be a bit of a dark horse in the tournament. I don't think they'll win though. All right. So I said, let's try and have some fun now. I think I've done it in another video that was better. But, okay, for those of you who don't know, like, okay, I'm trying to find, I had a better, so, all right, I'm going to play this first. Type W in the chat if you can hear it. Here's Zack Snyder dabbing on Geeks and Gamers stream. All right, let me get rid of the ads first and then we'll talk. I'll play it in a sec and then we can talk about if you guys can hear it or not. Oh, football ad. But, all right, so put W in the chat if you can hear this.
He is the one,
W.
the only.
I don't want to play it and then just be sitting here in silence. So could you hear that, everyone? Sorry, where's my cursor? All right. All right, W. Okay, nice. Okay, W, all right. So this is when Zack Snyder dabbed
There he is.
So you guys probably
Hey
see
guys,
this,
how you
but it's
doing?
always fun
How's
to
everybody
make
doing?
videos. So I like making videos.
Good. Good.
Just a quick thing before we get started. I know that on our donation page, we still have the Geeks and Gamers logo. I just want to say that I really we talked about this, and we're really not affiliated with Geeks and Gamers as far as I'm concerned, and I really just want to make that clear. And I also want to just say, in light of recent events, I think we really, if Justice League teaches us anything, it's about coming together, and there's no room for hate. And I just think that it's important. It's an important message. And of course, as the father of Asian children, it really hits close to home for me. And
So of course, so I think that might be one of my favorite moments in like the history of covering this stuff. But let's get into their reaction, which is even more funny.
Out there, I went out of my way when this entire thing started to tell Zack, you might want to understand what's about to happen by being connected to me. Multiple times I talked to Zack about this, and it got to the point where we fully agreed, yes, it needs to be on New Chase channel. It got to the point where we knew we needed to take a step back with the Geeks and Gamers brand, and that's totally fine, because the individuals that are part of the brand are still...
More ads, oh no.
elevate their own individual platforms, which in return still helps Geeks and Gamers, which is all I ever want is the individuals to succeed.
Do that. Imagine having some sort of cause. Doesn't matter what it is. Let's remove ourselves from the situation. And you organize something with someone. And as you are presenting this case, doesn't matter. You're raising money. It's for a good cause. It's actually something that's actionable. And the first thing that the dudes say, the person that you worked with on this says, yeah, I don't fuck with him, but thanks. Yeah, that ain't got nothing to do with us. You throw us under the bus, bro. Further in the stream, did he co-sign or did he speak positively, specifically of Geeks and Gamers, knowing damn well that you guys raised the money? Did he bother to make that statement, say thanks to the Geeks and Gamers team for helping us raise all this money? No. But what he did do was make sure that he wanted to separate that, and I think he's associating Geeks and Gamers team with this sort of hatred deal. But
I know what I'm doing, and I know how to play the game, and I know when to be aggressive and when not. And right now is the moment to show what this brand is made of and the individuals in it. But I'm very, very frustrated. Now, here's what we're going to establish on this stream, okay? It's my stream, and I've been slandered with Geeks and Gamers enough tonight, and no matter who we're talking to after what I just listened to Zack Snyder do to me, and I do believe he slandered me.
So it really... So yeah, you just love it. That was probably like top 10 moments of just ever. It's just absolutely hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious, right? Because someone was saying you could have read it as Zack Snyder just talking, maybe just saying that for like legal reasons, but then the way they all react to it is just so fucking hilarious, and just like says so much about them that they took it that way as well. Gonna read some comments. I love this clip, not loud enough. All right, sorry. This never gets old. It literally never ever gets old. I literally will laugh at it every time I see it. Zack to Geeks and Gamers, I'm about to end this man's whole career. This is when Jeremy Griggs became the Karen of the right wing. Imagine if Brie Larson herself denounced them on a live stream. Yeah, they'd lose their minds. That's a good clip. Yeah, spitting fire. Good for Zack Snyder. Yeah, I'm just wondering what to make my video on tomorrow. I might flick through some more Zack Snyder stuff. Pure Kofian, yeah. So, well, a bunch of loudmouth nitwits. Jeremy, you do seem to be acting like a snowflake here. I thought you hated those, kind of hypocritical. These guys are idiots. Wait, keep going. Yeah, when you're triggered that someone denounced racism, you're the bad guy. He was yeah, he was. He slandered me. Yeah, I respected him for it. It was so funny, man. Why did Snack go on? Because they were raising money for a charity that was like relevant to him or something. That was Jeremy Joker's origin story. Yeah, man. It was just like, the thing is, it's just so funny. Like, they were so mad about it afterwards as well. Like, it's so legendary. For anyone who follows like anti-SJW stuff, it's just like just one of the best things I've ever seen. Like when it first happened, I saw it pop up on Twitter and I was just laughing so hard. I was like, I cannot believe he's done this. I cannot believe he's gone on the live stream and said it and they're just like watching with like really like straight faces. Like they're so mad. They're so mad. They're coping and seething. Apparently, someone said they were in like a high school debate, and someone was getting really mad and made like a point and then said "cope and seethe." Like, God, like people need to stop using online terms like that you'd only write in the real world. But man, like, yeah, this stuff is like, I just love that stuff. It was so hilarious. Yeah, Grace Randolph complains about SJWs. People always get funny then I include clips of her in some of my anti-SJW videos. But at the same time, like, if you're talking about anti-SJW, if you're talking about anti-SJWs and criticizing them, you're good. If you're talking about actual SJWs, then you're probably like some sort of right winger. What's happening with? Oh no, just if you want to catch everything I did, go on the second channel to Calvinacle Extra. And you can check out the whole stream. Yeah, well, okay. You guys, obviously I know not everyone can watch all the videos. I'm going to try and find to you where I did more research and actually found another clip of them really praising him. Like, praising him so much. I'm trying to remember what one it was, though. Let's have a look. I always include it just for a laugh, like, because I always find it so funny. All right, what video was it? It was after the Zack Snyder one, so then I got the bizarre false narratives. This came out quite soon afterwards. Would I have included it? Let me have a little look, because there's just like a bunch of them talking about how great he is. Oh my god, is it this? Wait, it might be this video. All right. All right, it's about 2 months ago. Okay, this is it. All right, watch this.
Ryan, Kennel, and Lethal Lightning, two mega Zack Snyder fans, two people that I can't even imagine how good it feels to be them today because of the long-awaited, the long battle, the announcement of the Snyder Cut. I've seen this concerted effort from a lot of these far-left people, the Blue Check Mark Brigade, and it just seems like the existence, the mere mention of the existence of the Snyder Cut really, really upsets them. I respect this man, and I have talked about how much I do respect him as a person, as a dude, and as a director. I like a lot of his movies. I just don't like his DCEU. And this is exactly why I love and respect Zack Snyder so much, because he is a grown-ass man. He's actually talking to people like my friends talk to me and I talk to my friends. He's talking to you like you're a normal human being, because that's who Zack Snyder is. And I really, really appreciate this guy so much.
We're really not affiliated with Geeks and Gamers as far as I'm concerned, and there's no room for hate.
What I just listened to Zack Snyder do to me, and I do believe he slandered me.
Well, today... He destroyed
I will never
Scott
get over it.
Mendelson of Forbes. We all know
Well,
who
they
Scott
thought he
Mendelson
was- and
is.
that's what the
Scott
video might be
Mendelson
tomorrow.
always
It's basically
pandering
like,
to the social justice nonsense out there.
why,
And Zack Snyder
why these
absolutely
guys
destroyed
like
him. And it is a beautiful thing.
And
So
like,
again, missed
so the video is called like how they create bizarre false narratives to justify their positions in clickbait. But like, so tomorrow the video I'm thinking of, I don't know if it's too repetitive for like what I've been doing, but basically I wanted to talk about why guys like this think Zack Snyder is one of them and how like he destroyed their dreams. Because that video, man, just like non-stop like praising him, and then he just comes on the stream and pones. Alright, gonna read some comments. I look like Jon Snow. I get like loads of shit like that, like Jon Snow. Who's another one? Post Malone. It's just the beard and the mustache. Post Malone's another one. What's the other one people call me? Someone called me Heath Ledger because apparently when I looked young, I looked like Heath Ledger because we have similar like eyes. Apparently, I definitely don't look like him anymore. So Hunter saying that Geeks and Gamers channel pulled me down a right wing pipeline that for a while when The Last Jedi was new. Funny that I've grown and matured since then, and Jeremy is still doing his cringe. Yeah, so a lot of people tell me this stuff when I make these videos. Ryan Kinnell is the worst. I don't watch his stuff enough. They really go in on Zack, and watching him flip on them is just heartbreaking for them. You can see it touch their souls. So yeah, it's fucking hilarious, man. Conservatives not realising how left-wing most sci-fi is will always make me smile. Their own right-wing politics led to their conclusions is what destroys society in the genre. Yeah, we can talk about that before I finish the stream. Like Ben Shapiro loving Blade Runner 2049 was the most bizarre one. But also like Abby Shapiro's husband saying Red Dead 2 dabbed on the left. Like, what world do these guys live in? Like, I don't know how many of you watched my video on Abby Shapiro. You should go watch it though, because I had to sit through 3 hours of their Bioshock streams. But basically, yeah, that he was saying Bioshock dabs on the left, and then Red Dead 2 dabs on the left, and I'm just like, how have you like even said that? Have you played Red Dead 2, which really does not dab on the left? If anything, it has more left wing positions than most games. Like every left winger is chomping at the bit about the diversity in some random ass. Yeah, exactly. So Snyder's movies are full of right wing politics, yet whether he knows it or not. Jon Snow, making Rorschach the good guy proves to me Snyder is definitely right. Yeah, so Robert, what I wanted to say, I wanted to talk about 300 and Watchmen with Rorschach, because obviously in the series, and obviously the guy who made Watchmen was meant to be like, this is what Batman would actually be like in real life. You don't want to be like this guy. And then in the TV show, Rorschach is obviously like dead, but Rorschach's manifesto inspires all these white nationalist groups. The HBO show, which was really good. And then, but in Zack Snyder's movie, he's like the gruff hero, sort of, which is like kind of misinterpreting the point of the original graphic novel and everything. So I can understand why right-wingers like him, and he also wants to make a film about Ayn Rand. But then, so what I was thinking of, tell me if this isn't too repetitive. So I'm especially talking to the people who watch most of my videos, and particularly like the anti-SJW ones, right? So here's my idea for my video tomorrow, right? So I'm basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how much these guys loved Zack Snyder, and then I'm going to talk about how Zack Snyder, with his films and content, often appeals to right-wingers. Like the stuff he covers and the way he covers it, like the Battle of Thermopylae with Sparta and Persia, Watchmen, maybe some superhero stuff. And then I'm going to talk about his recent interview where he says, I'm not a right-winger, they just read this stuff into it, and talk about how he called them out for hatred and stuff. Does that sound too repetitive to stuff I've done before? Because the thing is, I'm sure some of you guys who might have like anything, like you might be like a writer, journalist, you might make your own stuff on YouTube. The good comments kind of go over your head, but I had one comment ranting and raving that all you do is talk about the same shit again and use the same clips. And I was thinking, like, I do often use the same clips, but the point of the video is often completely different. And also, I hope people understand, I want to limit my exposure to this stuff as much as possible. So watching 3 hours of Abby Shapiro and her husband play Bioshock was like an extreme like level to me. Like I told people in the intro, like it was so hard to make myself watch that. Like I'd be sitting where I am right now and it would be on the screen in front of me, like the chat is on the screen in front of me. And I'd be like, I've got to watch this. I've got to press play. And I just can't do it. I just can't sit here for 3 hours. I didn't do it in one take. I did it in 2 segments, and then thankfully as it went on, I sped it up and put subtitles on so I could flick through it a bit quicker. So read some more comments. Sorry, it's gone a bit weird, my chat. You're pretty, Cav, but not Jon Snow pretty. Fair enough. Oh, God. Also, have you heard about what Zack Snyder said about Xerxes? What's more scary to a 20-year-old boy than a giant god king who wants to have his way with you? What the fuck? Also, I was watching a video that Leonidas says to, like, the Persians or the Athenians, "You're boy lovers." Despite the fact that, like, Spartans, like many Greeks and ancient peoples, would have like sex with each other, so it's kind of like a weird thing, like, you know, a bit of homophobia. Hi Kennedy, thanks for joining. I liked your video but had to stop watching because of spoilers on Red Dead. Oh, okay, sorry. I did think I told people to stop watching about the spoiler segment. I hope I did. Just because it's an older game, I thought most people would have played it. Do it, I'll watch. So Carl can be the only one watching. They claim to hate identity politics, but regarding white characters or people, they suddenly care. Yeah, exactly. I would watch that. Okay, thanks. So Kennedy says she likes Snyder because his movies are stupid, and once you let yourself see them that way, they're very funny. Yeah, I guess to be honest, on the surface level they can be okay, but the only ones I've watched are 300 and Batman versus Superman and Superman, or Man of Steel, whatever. I don't think they're that great, to be honest. So I don't personally like his films, but Robert, Curio's video is like 1 hour long, really in depth, and they've watched like his whole filmography. It definitely wouldn't be anything like that. I just don't have the time. Yeah, 300 depicts people of colours and human monsters. Yeah, faceless Persians and stuff. Okay, people would watch that. People tell me to do it. Okay. Mama Page saying, I find it funny right-wing talking heads will swear that games have no politics until it suits them, then haha, dabbing on the left. Yeah, it was just like like anyone who's played Red Dead and thinks it like dabs on the left. And here's what I didn't realize, right? In the American context, many conservatives think that being left-wing basically only means more government control. Like, a lot of Americans genuinely believe that left-wing equals authoritarianism, which is really strange because authoritarianism isn't like strictly one ideology or the other. You have right-wing authoritarians and you have more left-leaning authoritarians, I guess more like hardline Marxist types. Like, you know, you have obviously authoritarianism in extremely conservative Saudi Arabia and Iran. And then you had it in, you know, the Soviet Union, or you have it to a degree in socialist, you know, countries run by communist parties like China, for example. That's, you know, but also like the thing is, it's a bit of a mess sometimes because China is not like a left-wing country, right? But the communist ideology they say they believe in is like a left-wing ideology, but they're quite conservative socially and in a lot of regards as well. So it's not exactly like the best example, I guess, but yeah, but apparently a lot of Americans think left wing means equals more government control. So right wingers are for freedom because they want less government control. So the way Abby Shapiro's husband thought of Red Dead is because it's about the expanse of the, you know, industrialization, and apparently also the government. That means it's dabbing on the left because it's kind of about this lifestyle that's anti that. But also he says in another video that all these characters are parasites, which, you know, seems like a guy who hasn't really played much of Red Dead, because it has this massive theme of, you know, how America destroyed the Native Americans. That's like a key theme in the game. Like one of the main characters is half black, half American. Has lots of stuff about slavery, capitalism, how industrialization is like poisoning nature and stuff. And of course you have people like Micah and Dutch who are like full of shit, but most of the characters are pretty genuine, nice people for the most part. And the bad guys are the Pinkertons, like this private agency that the government use. It's like, you know, a corporate entity. So anyway, very strange to think Red Dead is right wing at all. Read some more comments. Yeah, Athenian boy lovers, not like us honourable Spartan boy lovers. Yeah, exactly. So my name comes from so basically the Tabernacle. Some people know my real name, but you would have had to subscribe to me like years ago. But yeah, basically what I say is like the Tabernacle is like a play on tabernacle, because I was raised like Irish Catholic and I thought it'd be funny. And when I started my YouTube, it was mainly like talking about atheist stuff. So I thought it'd be like, you know, a bit ironic is all. But it's a, you know, I remember I said, if anyone's watched the interview I did with the Progressive American, I linked that in my community tab, where I talked about the origins of my channel. Basically told him that the origins of my channel are that I started a radio show on my third year at university. And because most of you guys think I'm called Tommy, let's go that. So I called it like Tommy's Podium, which is a really shit name. But I only called it that because the name I actually came up with was the Tabernacle. And I was like, no. I was like, that cannot be for this like shitty little radio show at uni. I got to save this for YouTube. So then I saved it for YouTube. And yeah, I think it's a great name, to be honest. And the best thing is, it's so unique. Like basically every you know, social media I set up, it's like, oh great, I can just call myself the Tabernacle. No problems there. So yeah. Read some more stuff. I'm ready for the Zack Snyder vid. He has very odd takes and tries to play off like his homophobia. Equally bad is his propensity for shitty cameras to focus in. Yeah. Can you do a video on Ayn Rand? I'm sure there are plenty of Ayn Rand videos out there. I mean, I haven't read Ayn Rand's work, but I know she's obviously like a really shitty person. I made a video ages ago about some so-called liberal MSNBC journalist saying that like Atlas Shrugged was one of their favourite books, and I was like, these policies are what is destroying America right now, because like Paul Ryan and Donald Trump like Ayn Rand. Oh no, that's funny. Have you seen Shapiro's video where recently, is this a short one, where he says a bunch of movies are secretly conservative because they promote virtue? Do you like Nolan's films? I really like Dunkirk, Interstellar, Inception. I like most of his movies, to be honest. Inception, Interstellar, and Dunkirk I like a lot. I also like the Batman movies, but I haven't watched them in about 6 years. Because the last time I watched them, I watched all 3 before Arkham Knight came out to get me in the mood. The American idea on political spectrum is warped due to history. Yeah, it seems so. To me, Man of Steel was an immigrant movie with themes of father, and Batman vs Superman is about immigrant versus the establishment with themes of motherhood. I mean, I guess you could read it like that. The left wing equals authoritarian thing. There's a helicopter. There's been a helicopter flying over my house like for 2 days now. I don't know if you guys can hear this. And the annoying thing was, I got home from football late because the match started late last night. And I was like sitting up at my desk at like 11:30, and every like 10 minutes or like 5 minutes, the helicopter would fly over, and I had to stop recording. It's so frustrating, especially when your camera's battery is kind of shit. Katie's saying it's because decades of anti-communist propaganda here, people are ridiculously uneducated in what leftism is. Yeah, that's what it feels like. So, do a video on Manifest Destiny. No. But yeah, Manifest Destiny was crazy. I talked about it in my Anglo-Saxon video. Sorry, read some more stuff. Ayn Rand books are boring. Apparently, yeah, they're written like shit. So, no way I would watch 3 hours of the Shapiros. Well, I did. I wish YouTube would tell you when you sub to someone. What do you mean? YouTube does tell you, doesn't it? Read some more comments. She's not a good thinking. Ayn Rand basically said the natives deserve to lose their land because they weren't using it for profit. That's how like horrible she was. They're coming for your thought crimes, yeah. Because in the UK you have no freedom of speech, apparently. That's what right wingers always say. Yeah, James is saying here, Shapiro said A Quiet Place is pro-life movie because it shows that it's still worth it to have children during an apocalypse. The Shapiro said that BioShock was a pro-life game with a pro-life message because it's good to save the little sisters. Like, I don't understand. That is nothing to do with like what pro-life and pro-choice arguments are about. Just like, yes, as a left-wing person, when someone is alive, I'm, pro-life when they're born in terms of like, you want to make their life as good as possible where you don't want to like kill them and make their life untenable. But of course, about being pro-choice is about many different things in terms of like maybe, even some leftists, it's like economic situation, health to the mother, quality of life for the child and stuff. There's various different arguments. It's not about just like, do you want human die or human live? And those guys actually don't really give a shit about life once it's come out of a woman's womb. So, why does everyone in Europe avoid or sweep under the carpet King Leopold's subjects? Honestly, Jake, I think just most people don't know about it is the main thing. Alien is pro-life because but that's the thing. It's like, you could, if from that angle, you'd be like, oh, Blade Runner is a pro-life movie because Roy Batty saves Deckard at the end. Therefore, because Roy Batty saw there was worth to human life and he wanted Deckard to live, the film is actually pro-life conservative or some shit like that. It's the most like weird framing ever. Yeah, so one more thing I wanted to show you guys as one last video to show on this stream. Alright, let's Ben Shapiro, Blade Runner. I love Blade Runner. You can probably tell from those massive posters. Fuck man, like this guy called Andrew Clavin or something. I would love Logan Paul and Ben Shapiro. What the fuck? Is this for real? Oh my god, have I never heard about this? Ben Shapiro and Logan Paul. I have never ever heard of this collaboration. If I really want to rot my brain, I'll watch that. Here's my video. About these weird right-wingers liking Blade Runner. Alright. And annoyingly in this video, I actually voiced all this stuff. So yeah, go check out this video if you want me like in-depth talk about how obviously fucking ridiculous it is that someone who didn't even believe climate change was real until like a year ago loves Blade Runner 2049. So I'm not going to spoil Blade Runner 2049 if none of you, or a fair few of you, won't have watched it. It's on my wall. I'm subliminally like trying to put it in your head with every video, but please go watch it. Me and my girlfriend actually have, because I saw it in the cinema when it came out in IMAX. So good. I nearly, because I don't go to the cinema that much, and I haven't really been since everything started. I only go to IMAX really, and seeing like I saw Gone Girl, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Blade Runner, and 1917 all in IMAX. Like I'd happily pay for that because it's such a good experience. But me and my girlfriend actually have a double bill of Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049 booked for August. I'm really hyped to see the first Blade Runner in a cinema though, just as it was intended, creator's intent. So yeah, let me just see if you guys can see the video, all right? Oh wait, you can't. Can you not see it? Huh. For some reason, is it blocked? One sec. It seems to have frozen. All right, give me a sec. It seems. Oh, I'm on the wrong. What am I doing? I'm on the wrong tab. I was actually on the video on my screen. Sorry. Let's go down. Back to my. This is when the views came free and easy on YouTube. It feels like such a grind these days. Trying to get views. The summer months. We'll gear up for winter. All right. So this always makes me fucking laugh. So yeah, he's banging on about it. By the way, Blade Runner. Oh, you guys didn't see? Yeah, I was because I was on the other page. Yeah, I was literally just flicking through a podcast of Logan Paul and Ben Shapiro. I don't even know what the fuck that was about. So Blade Runner should be up for Best Picture. Blade Runner are the most underrated films of 2017. Blade Runner again. Anyway, yeah, very bizarre. Ben Shabino loves Blade Runner. All right, just to stick a little picture on. Yeah, there's him like denying climate change, saying like if your house goes underwater, go buy another house. Very big brain take there. All right, so let's talk about Blade Runner for a sec. So I'm not going to spoil the plot of the movie. I just want to talk about the subtext. And here's something I was talking about on my Red Dead video. Is like I don't think people, especially on the right, often understand subtext of a world or a movie. And I don't know how many of you in the chat have read Philip K. Dick books. I've read Man in the High Castle. I really like the show as well. Got the poster for it there. And I've read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. And I also wrote an article, and I'm going to publish it on my Medium this week. I wrote it like over a year ago, but I feel like it's worth posting on the Medium as well. It's about the world building of Philip K. Dick worlds, right? So the story in Philip K. Dick's books, and to, I guess, an equal, maybe a bit lesser extent, in the Blade Runner films and others, isn't so much about the plot often. It's about the world building and the world and the subtext of it. Like Philip K. Dick's book, Man in the High Castle, was anti-fascist. If you just read that book and don't take in the subtext, you might think, well, how is this book anti-fascist? Like the actual plot of the book, the characters involved, how is this an anti-fascist book? The point of the book being anti-fascist, it's about the world, and it talks about the world building and different factions and how this world came to be and who's in charge and stuff. That's how it's anti-fascist. I'm talking about how the society can normalize fascism and start into fascism. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep has a lot of world building, but it's very weird. It's not as on the nose as I don't think it's as explicit in its messaging as the Blade Runner films, but it's pretty clear with 2049. As opposed to the first one. The first Blade Runner, I always say, is a world you would want to visit. And it's a world that seems kind of familiar. Like, it's polluted, it's busy, but it's drenched in, like, nice neon. And it's like a place you'd maybe want to chill for, like a day. The world of 2049 you don't want to go to. Like, it's very, very bleak. And I believe it's obviously informed by the two different times it was made. So I made a video about cyberpunk and the racism that's inherent in this genre and stuff. And talked about, the Orientalism of LA, essentially in the first Blade Runner. It plays into certain stereotypes of Japanese people taking over the world because of the economic boom in the 80s. Many Americans were like smashing up Japanese products, like congressmen for photo ops and stuff. But in the second one, when the first one, like in the book, there is no animals left, basically. All the animals are dead. In the second one, most of nature is dead. So, like, you see the picture here, Ryan Gosling with a flower, essentially. That's a very unusual sight in this world. Most things like this are synthetic. They're not real. And there's a dead tree, which he picks it up from. And then also with the subtext thing, if I get the picture. So this is one of the characters looking at this wooden toy he has. And he's saying, you know, I could buy you anything with this wood. Like, no one has wood anymore. And then go back. It's snowing all the time in LA. And there's a giant seawall, like, keeping it off the sea level changes, right? But that's subtext. There's no point in the film where Ryan Gosling's character goes, boy, that climate change, like, it's really done a number on LA. Like, I remember like 20 years ago and it wasn't snowing all the time. Or we didn't have a giant seawall. But that's what I mean about subtext. Because if you take the plot of Blade Runner on its own, like 2049, it's a plot about, you know, maybe finding out this mystery. How does this mystery end? Who is this character? Who is, you know, Ryan Gosling's character? And obviously you have like some of the subtext which is more explicit, like what it is to be human. What does being human mean? What does having like a soul mean? Are, you know, AIs human? Like, do they have humanity? And some other questions of humanity, which is more like on the top level, right? But then obviously when you have a thing like Blade Runner inspired by someone like Philip K. Dick, the subtext is so important. So thinking that Blade Runner can just be read as like some sort of philosophical film rather than a philosophical and political film is quite interesting. And it's quite interesting for a massive right-winger who really believes in like climate skepticism, has a film where you have LA covered in snow 24/7 and a massive seawall as something that's not trying to show you a world that has come about as a result of the current world we're in right now, a current world which Ben Shapiro advocates for the most damaging policies we're pursuing right now, policies that do, you know, hurt the environment, capitalism being the ideology that's driving the destruction of the planet. So I find it very hilarious. And although Blade Runner isn't an explicitly anti-capitalist film, like there's no explicit anti-capitalist messaging, it is pretty much saying our current capitalist system is going to give us this world one day. In a way that, although the first film was talking about like corporate control, and also this one is as well, it's talking about the complete dominance of this system giving us this world. So I find it, you know, it's like me, I'm trying to think of a film similar that gives, like, tries to criticize left-wing politics in a similar way. I don't think it really happens though. Someone, you know, something that I like. But it's kind of funny to like a film that basically holds up a mirror to you and says, yeah, you know, your politics, this is what is going to happen if we follow them. So maybe that's not maybe that's not a good idea. I think I accidentally clicked exit on the chat, so let's see how far I can go back. I don't know if I can. I'm gonna read some more chat now. I think I might have missed some stuff. So let's read some comments. Okay, no, I know I haven't missed it. Doom Eternal is pro-life because the Doomslayer says slays demons and he was born. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Alien is anti-corporate. Ridley Scott obviously directed Alien and Blade Runner. But Jake Paul and Ben Shapiro are the same IQ. I don't believe in IQ because it's just for I just think IQ's for skull measures. I talked about it in my Sam Harris video. When was that? I don't know, a couple weeks ago. IMAX rules. Blade Runner and 2049 were amazing. Yep, two of my favourite movies. Movies that allow heckling IMAX. Yeah, someone said in American theatres you all cheer and like it's like a, you know, weird thing. If I was in a theatre, everyone was cheering and speaking, I'd be so mad. Would you do a politics on Ridley Scott's films? The thing with Ridley Scott, I was actually saying this to my girlfriend before I streamed. I said his filmography is so diverse. Like, this is a guy who made Alien, Blade Runner, Thelma and Louise, Black Hawk Down, Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven, and he's making that House of Gucci film. Like this guy, like his filmography is so diverse. It'd be hard to nail down the politics exactly. Why are the Germans hated and blamed for World War II but not Austria? Well, because Germany essentially took over Austria, so I guess maybe some people see them as the victims. I don't know. But Australia was more of a willing collaborator than other countries, like obviously like Czechoslovakia and stuff. Oh, nice. Bobby's saying Blade Runner, Alien, Terminator 2, Akira, Ghost in the Shell, RoboCop, Total Recall, Rambo, all showing in London cinemas. Yeah, I'm just happy I get to see Blade Runner. But getting to see the second one again is great as well. Yeah, 2049 I think is a better movie. I can see why people like the vibe of the first one as well. Yeah, Ben, I love The Witcher 3 and I've completed it 4 and a bit times. I've never read the book, so. James, I'd love to go there on a holiday for a week. the first Blade Runner, and not the second one. Yeah, Phoebes, do a double bill. Watch the first one, then watch the second one. They're very good films. Yeah, Jack, I wouldn't say Witcher 3 is like extremely progressive, but it's obviously like anti-racism, isn't it? And anti-bigotry. Like the Eternal Fire is basically like a stand-in for the Catholic Church. And Radovid is like, you know, a backwards medieval monarch essentially, where Emir, I guess Emir and the Nilfgaard is meant to be seen as like, I guess more like Renaissance style Europeans, like early modern style, like maybe, I don't know, like Italians or something. I don't know. Only movie I've seen cheering in is Avengers Endgame. Okay. Ridley Scott has never written any scripts. Well, he's never written any. Oliver Stone's pretty crazy in that he's like written so many good films and directed them as well. Yeah, like the BBC did a good like series analysing the first film on its anniversary, or like the date it's set, November 2019. Apparently like its soundtrack inspired like loads of techno music as well. But yeah, like it's really it's, I'd say like my favorite films are like how like a vibe is constructed, and that's why I want to talk about this a bit before I go stream. People give a lot of shit to Assassin's Creed, but I think that the vibe each game creates, like The Witcher does this very well, like the soundtrack, the visuals, and certain things it does, and I feel that's why I like certain films. Like for me, the reason I could watch Blade Runner and 2049 so much is because what I'm taking away from it is like the visuals, the aesthetic, the music, and how this world is depicted, and that's why I like watching it so much, because I think it's fully why films like this, and I think the story is totally fine in both Blade Runner films, but I think the films like that like are so good at transporting you into this like world, because the world building is so good. And the article I wrote was called the vague world building of Philip K. Dick and the movies he inspired. So in Blade Runner 2049, for example, you'll have like a ballerina advertisement playing, and then it will be like a product of the CP, like the Soviet Union, basically. And you're like, oh wow, like in this universe, the Soviet Union still exists in 2049. And obviously in the book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is set in 1992, the Soviet Union still exists, even though that was written in the 60s. So that's really interesting. And you obviously have like dead companies, mostly dead, like Atari, Pan Am, all that stuff is like, you know, this is like a 1980s future. All that stuff is in 2049. And then you have other things, you know, Peugeot is the car he drives. And you just think about like how this world came to this state, and like, what does this world look like outside of LA? And there's lots of different things that like Philip K. Dick does a bit better, because, you know, the medium of a book is better for this stuff. But like raises a lot of questions and drops in little things here and there. And that's why Man in the High Castle was a good show, because it keeps it vague. Like in Man in the High Castle, on the maps of the world divided up between the Japanese and the Nazis, they have like big zones which have white on them, meaning none of them control it, and the middle of Russia is one of them. And you're asking yourselves, if the Allies lost World War II, why is most of Russia like not conquered by either of these guys? And then you have other countries like South America, which isn't conquered by the Nazis, and other places in the world. But you also wonder, like, what do these countries look like under Nazi rule? And you know, in the show as well, in the 4th season, there's a group called the Black Communist Rebellion, and they're all using like AK-47s, which they say they got from China. And then you're thinking in your head, well, if World War II didn't pan out the way it happened, in what context was the AK-47 developed? And also, what does China look like if they're the ones fighting against the Japanese still? Is this like Mao, or is this like Chiang Kai-shek or something? So just stuff like that, where like, especially if you love history or anything, like when stuff raises questions, and you know, people might remember I'm writing my own alt history book, which I finished first chapter of. It's an anti-fascist book, but I've tried to do this as well, where like I'm using my historical knowledge to construct like a world, but I raise the questions, but you don't necessarily answer them all. Like you'll cite like a fake historical event like it's a real thing. And I think that's what the best things like Blade Runner do, is like your imagination, and that's why I really like them. But again, like I'm saying, sometimes you have little more vague stuff, but then I think in Blade Runner 2049, the subtext, while like not in your face, I think it's pretty explicit. This is showing us a capitalist, you know, the end result of capitalism essentially. Ancient Greece was fun in AC. Yeah, I like Odyssey a lot. Origins I totally loved. Like seeing ancient Egypt recreated like that was just so amazing. I just finished Wrath of the Druids, the DLC for Valhalla, and I said to my girlfriend, like, and I tweeted, I said, it's so crazy. These games get me interested in history, and I have a history degree. You know, I love history anyway. But like, they get me interested in periods of history I never thought I'd like ancient Egypt, ancient Greece. I really got into after I played these games, and now I'm looking at like ancient Ireland, and I'm like, I was reading all about like Saint Patrick last night, like who he really was, and also what the game made me realize, maybe a bit sad, is that personally I like, it's wrong, but I don't consider the North like a part of Ireland anymore. And what the game made me realize, because it's all about the various kings of Ireland, is that no, the North was always a part of Ireland. Like obviously I support the unification of Ireland, but in my head I'm like, that's the British part. But now when I play this game, I'm like, no, the North, that was Ireland, and it was Ireland for like thousands of years, and it had like a king who ruled over this whole territory with like various like kings of cities and territories. But then when the Normans came, the Tudors and the English and the Scottish, they divided this, and they made the Irish people essentially divided. But like for me, the game helped me visualize and like engross me in like the myths and like the mythology of Ireland, where I'm thinking like, no, these people all did like share a culture, and like it maybe was a bit different like many regions are, but that makes me believe more that like obviously Ireland should be reunited as like a historic territory and stuff. But no, that's why I love Assassin's Creed games, and I think they get a lot of hate for sometimes legit reasons, sometimes for bad reasons. But there's a mode called Discovery Mode on Origins and Odyssey. I think they're making it for Valhalla. It's basically like guided tours of the world, giving you history lessons. It's so good. Like, I think video games have such a future as an educational device, because as someone who loves history and loves people teaching history, Assassin's Creed games are pretty good anyway. Even though Ubisoft is like a really shitty company, like the politics of Assassin's Creed, while not explicit, I think is more like towards true history, and what's always good, and something that like I think it does very well, just like many films, is it helps you visualize a time you don't know personally. And then a big thing for me in Assassin's Creed is like, you have two like Muslim Middle Eastern characters in this game, and it's Vikings, because one of your brother in the game has traveled to the Middle East, and then in the DLC you're doing these trade missions with like the Emirate of Cordoba in Spain, and like the Byzantines and the Russians and stuff, and it's very eye-opening, because you often have a very binary view of the world, of how interconnected the world has always been, not just in the 20th century. It's always been, there's been links between Vikings, you know, some Vikings converted to Islam, Vikings who traveled to the Middle East and Spain, Vikings who traveled obviously to America as well, and like it's very, often very eye-opening how connected these cultures often are. Even like the Greek one, you know, the Persians and Athenians and like Egyptians, and just the connections between them all. I think it's very eye-opening, to be honest. And that's why I really love the games, just like exploring like a very well recreated version of a country like 2,000 years ago. It's just like, someone who loves history, it's just something I really love to do. But also I was thinking about this today as I was researching Irish history last night after I finished the DLC. I was thinking, and also in my Sam Harris video when he's talking about the Inquisition, I think something people, if you ever, so sometimes history's so long ago, it's easy to detach it and be like, well, yeah, the last 300 years are very important, but like, is there any point in learning about like medieval history? If people want to understand like contemporary racism and how it was formed, I'd seriously recommend learning about the history of Spain. I'd say from maybe like 1100 to 1600 or the mid 1600s, because the Spanish and Iberia, like the Portuguese and Spanish, is just like, it's so key to understanding racism. And in my Sam Harris video, I said basically it's clear this guy has not studied this period, because otherwise he wouldn't have all of these like takes and stuff. So like with Spain, basically what they did to the Jews in Spain was they forced convert them into Christianity, right? And you generally think with Christians, once you're converted, they consider you a Christian. But of course, they never considered these converts actually Christian. They called them the conversos. So they said, because of your Jewish blood, you're not actually Christian, right? And this is something that took hold in Europe because of your blood. And essentially, they kicked out the Jews from Spain in the 1300s. But when they'd conquered the whole of Spain and they had these Muslim populations in Granada, for example, they did mass forced conversions as well. But they never believed the Muslims were, or like the Moriscos, were actually Christians. And to be fair, a lot of them actually never renounced Islam. They did it in secret. But at the same time, these guys didn't even believe the very the ones who did actually convert and even learn the Spanish language, Catalan and stuff. I think it was Catalan. Didn't believe them and said, because of your Muslim blood, you're not Christians, get out. And in 1609, they kicked out all the Muslims from Iberia. Now, the funny thing is, because I'm saying how important it is for modern racism, is that the white Europeans, the Anglo-Saxons as they call themselves, in Britain, in the Netherlands, in Germany, and in France, turned around to the Spanish and Italians and said, well, you lot all have, this is why people will often try and like be racist to me. They say, well, you lot all have dark features. Like, a lot of you have black hair, a lot of you have very dark eyes. So it's clear a lot of you also have bloodlines that go back to the Arab conquest. Therefore, you guys aren't actually Christians either. You're just like the Moriscos and the Jews. You actually have Arab and Jewish blood in you. And this is the view of what these white, pale Christian Protestants would say to the Catholics in Italy and Spain. So that's one element that's very important to understanding modern racism. And then on top of that, you obviously have the Portuguese being the first people to enslave black Africans. And what they did with these Africans was they took them to the New World with them and used them as slave labor, of course. But then they also had a racial hierarchy developing. And this is something people need to understand. When we talk about racism, we're not talking about, and at least when I talk about racism, I'm not talking about an exchange between two races, or like, I believe in discrimination. Like, I believe you can discriminate someone for being white, not in a Western country, but for example, in maybe another country, like in an Asian country, say China, for example. I believe you could have an element of discrimination, or Japan, for being white, right? But I don't believe that's racism, because I believe racism was constructed by the Europeans. It's this hierarchical system. And in the New World, basically, what the Spanish government and the king and queen at the time said, Native Americans, because they never heard of God before, they've never heard of Christianity, they will not be enslaved, right? And we'll get into how they were treated in a sec. But black people had exposure to God, had exposure to these religions, rejected Christ, essentially. It's better for them to be enslaved and work in servitude as long as they're Christian. So, of course, Africans were forced converted to Christianity as well. But that's how this hierarchy develops, where black is bottom. African is down the bottom, and native is slightly better, not much better though, because someone asked me to make a video on, I think it's the Encomienda system or whatever. It's basically the tax system the Spanish used for the natives was you had to pay the taxes through your labor. So they'd often put the natives into brutal labor conditions as well and treat them like absolute garbage. And obviously, you know, some colonies in Spain really ethnically cleanse the natives. Different for different territories, obviously. Like there's high native populations in some South American former colonies, like I think Peru and Bolivia have a lot more natives in the population still than a lot of others, like I think Colombia and some others have really cracked down and stuff. But like it's so important this period. This is like 600 years ago to 400 years ago. And this is how modern racism develops. And it's so important to understanding modern racism. But most people see anything past or like going further back from the American Revolution or the French Revolution as irrelevant to modern history. When I think it's seriously important to understand this stuff. It's also the Anglo-Saxon stuff, the politicization of Anglo-Saxon identity, which is pretty much bullshit, is really formed in this period as well, which is key to like manifest destiny and everything like that as well. So the thing is with history, like history is like obviously just there, and you maybe not all the time you need to apply your morals to it, but it's very important to understanding the present and stuff we believe in today and how it shaped our society. Like racism wasn't invented during, you know, the American Civil War or something like that. Racism wasn't invented after the Civil War. Racism wasn't just, you know, racism is obviously like a social construct, and the social construct of racism was created about 600 years ago, where there's a hierarchy of races to white Europeans, and even in that hierarchy, often white people go below other white people based on what you look like. For example, when I get racially abused, it's because people say I'm not white. Why am I not white? It's old school medieval racism, where because I have dark features, I must therefore have something in my bloodline which is either Muslim, Jewish, possibly even, you know, Asian, like a Mongol. People have called me a Mongol before. People have called me Chechen and stuff. So to them, I can't be a white person because a white person wouldn't have dark features, because that implies I actually have a bloodline which isn't from Europe. It's not Anglo-Saxon. It's not Scandinavian. So that is like something that's obviously like so important to understanding racism. Even today in 2021, it's been so long since this stuff began. But it's just frustrating because people don't think, like I've made a videos, you can't be racist to a white person. And that's because I believe racism, what we've constructed and spread through the colonial period, is this social construct devised by the Europeans. And you can see it by even former colonies of Europeans like China or India. They often employ this as well, where I've had Indians I spoke to before call themselves white even though they were fairly dark, and they talk to me about like even sometimes the Aryan stuff, because obviously is it Indo-European or Indo-Aryan, which are Indians and Persians believe they're like, you know, the original Aryans and stuff. But it's even they have bought into this mindset sometimes where they think, you know, I was arguing with my professor who was from China about racism, and he was saying because China went for the colonial struggle, that when they do blackface by accident, it's not racism. And I said it is racism, and it's maybe worse because they don't realize it, but they're also buying into colonial racism that was imposed on them. So obviously all racism is bad, but it's very important to understand that racism also means the hierarchy of races. It's not just a white person saying something to a non-white person. It's very important to understand the context of where black people exist to racist on the racial hierarchy, and how black people, and this is why I really get frustrated about the comparisons between the Barbary slave trade and the African slave trade, because the Barbary slave trade, while often had, you know, elements of Muslim and Arab supremacy in it, it wasn't a slave trade essentially based on race. It wasn't like, so here is X, Y, and Z. This is what races are better and worse. For the Barbary slave trade, and obviously Islam itself outlaws slavery. What they used to say is that because these people aren't Muslim, we can enslave them. And they even say of, groups like Russians, groups like Venetians, even, Europeans who got caught up in the area and stuff. It was more like an extension of classical slavery, ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient Sparta. All these groups had slaves. It wasn't based on something like race, whereas racism and slavery is directly related because African people were the only ones who were enslaved like they were. African people were treated as this disposable workforce, and it was the right of the Europeans to take these people and work them to death in a way that wasn't seen in any other group. And that's what people need to remember. And yes, the manifest destiny and genocide of natives and stuff is obviously completely motivated by racism. But it's important to understand why one group was enslaved and obviously genocide done upon them as well, and while one group was just essentially like conquered and stuff. And there are not degrees, but it's important to acknowledge the history. But sometimes it gets a bit redundant. Like, am I really going to say who's had it worse between the Native Americans and African Americans? Like, obviously it's important to realize the nuances and differences, but it's not always, the same, really relevant to the discussion. But it is important to realize, especially when we talk about racism, how black people have often found themselves at the bottom of the pile in terms of the whole thing. And that's what's frustrating when people say like anti-white racism or white, like Tulsi Gabbard was talking about what anti-white racism. I was like, this anti-white racism is not a thing. Anti-white discrimination can exist for sure. Anti-white prejudice can exist for sure. Anti-white racism does not exist. And that's why it doesn't exist. Because white people created the hierarchical system of racism. It's an ideology that is so intertwined with colonialism and things like manifest destiny and stuff, and things like the expulsion of Muslims from Spain and the Jews and everything, and so tied up with Protestant Catholic wars and everything. It's just not right to say that. And people get funny because I guess the colloquial term has been kind of made different, and also I guess there can be some revisions to it as well in terms of like, I guess the war on terror kind of downgraded Arab peoples even further. Like their lives are worth less because of this propaganda and stuff. And it can shift, I guess, to a degree. But it's clear that like the original concept and hierarchy established when racism was first established as a social construct is still in effect. And racism is like a social construct because obviously you guys know it's bullshit. And I made the video about the Anglo-Saxon stuff. It's ridiculous for Americans to call themselves Anglo-Saxons, like totally ridiculous. There is no way, like I said in the video, most Americans could ever trace their lineage back to the Anglo-Saxons. Like no way in hell. And even the Anglo-Saxons themselves as a society, and in England, so the Angles and the Saxons also mixed with native populations of British, who were also mixed with Roman populations from before. And it's just such a mesh of different ethnicities, races, and you have like obviously Vikings and stuff as well. And even in like the Spanish case, like they're talking about this stuff, but they're a mix of ethnicities and races as well. And in terms of like making these very binary races like white, black, brown, or like native and stuff, and making this system, it completely, that's how you can only keep racism alive through revisionist history. So, and it always changes, right? So the Nazis or Franco's Spain or Mussolini would have absolutely no problem with me, right? I'm English with an Irish background. The Nazis would let me serve in the army without any problem. Fascist groups would let me serve without most problems in certain times, right? But what often happens is fascists will change the criteria. So while some white supremacist groups would see no problem with me, many of them would. They'd say the same stuff as before. Well, look at your hair, black hair. You're not white. But then obviously you have people like Adolf Hitler, for example, dark hair, dark eyes. But then some people wouldn't consider him white because of that stuff. It is really, really strange. And it also shows how it is a social construct, because if we can shift it so much, if it changes from like you're white because you have white skin, now you're not actually white because you have really pale skin, like I have really pale skin, but because I have dark hair means I'm not white for some reason. I don't know. It's very important, I think, just to understand this history stuff, but it just shows how ridiculous like this stuff shifts. Like calling yourself Anglo-Saxon means you believe you're superior to other white groups, but we consider white a race. But if you're calling yourself Anglo-Saxon, you're saying I'm not like the Italians, I'm not like the Irish, and that's what it was used for. It was used for anti-Irish and Catholic discrimination. Like, we're the Anglo-Saxons, this is our right to rule and stuff. And Germans used to also say they were the Anglo-Saxons. It was like a shared, made-up racial unity. Like, Hitler liked the British because he thought there was Anglo-Saxon solidarity between the races of the peoples. And he liked the pale Europeans because he thought they were like the Anglo-Saxons. So, like, race is complete, you know, it's important now, and that's one thing I want to, like, end this little tirade on. It's important now to talk about race in terms of, we live in a society where race has been made a thing, right? So we cannot just say, I don't talk about racism because race is a social construct and doesn't really exist. That's not how it works. But it's important to recognize that race was created as a mode of creating racism, of discrimination against certain groups. But now we live in this world, so we have to talk about race. You know, some people play that Morgan Freeman clip, like, stop talking about race and it will go away. That's not how it works. And it's basically like, because we've created this racial hierarchy, we need to acknowledge it. And that's how you eventually, hopefully one day, dismantle it, where we don't talk about, well, you're black, you're white, or there's some sort of aggression between certain groups because of the color of their skin. But that's like thousands and thousands of years in the future, because we still have this thing. And it didn't always exist. And discrimination and prejudice has always existed. Racism has not always existed. Roman Empire, for example, right? Culturally prejudice. Roman culture is superior. Roman culture is the best. Everyone else is a barbarian, pagan, whatever. But what they did, the Romans, conquer places and say, join us. And if you join us, you will be treated somewhat equal. So there were black Roman emperors, for example, from Africa. If you became a Roman, to them, there was no race. There was no, like, black or Arab or Palestinian or whatever. You know, there was no of these groups. If you bought into the Roman system, you could become a Roman. And that is not something in a system of racism you could do. If you were African and you lived under the Spanish Empire, you could not go to the Spanish, right? And even some Muslims tried, converted to Christianity, learned Catalan, adopted Spanish names. They still said, you're not Spanish, so get out. You're going to North Africa, which you've never been to before, because we think your bloodline means you can't be Spanish and can't be Christian. So that's how racism hasn't always existed. Prejudice, discrimination, all this stuff is just like human nature. It's always existed. But it's important to recognize, this is kind of for a long time, it's important to recognize how racism was created. And people often say, well, there's always been racism, blah, blah, blah. No, there hasn't always been racism. There's always been discrimination and prejudice. Racism is different from that and exists separate from that. And obviously it's, you know, racism is discrimination and prejudice, but it's something that was invented and created. It's not just, as people put it, human nature. There, you know, if the world was dominated by the Chinese, like the way it was dominated by white Europeans, we may have racism, but it wouldn't look like the racism we have today. And that's the main thing to recognize and stuff. I'm going to take some comments and then I think we'll leave it there. LA Noire got me interested in 1940s LA. Yeah, LA Noire is amazing. One of my favorite games. The recreation of LA was pretty sick. And I think it didn't do race issues that well, but obviously it included it. So colonial countries need racism to exist. I mean, yeah, to an extent they do. You have great content. Keep it up. Thanks. Sorry, I was reading another comment. Geeks and Gamers meant the same face, part being thumbnail. Yep. As a German, you seem like British to me. Yeah, exactly. Katie's saying racialized discrimination is what we whites could experience. Often this is what white Latins experience in the US, for example. Yeah, but I think that gets to the point about like how what white is really like shifting and shifts throughout time. Like to some people, white is just white skin. To other people, white is white skin and fairer hair and fairer features. Like someone like me doesn't classify as white, for example. So yeah, obviously Latinos in Spain, they say they're white, like, and even brown Spanish people will say they're white. But then obviously a lot of racist people, if they're in the US or the Europe, they'd say you're not white. You know, you're tanned or brown or something. And the Jutes, yeah, the Jutes were there as well. Blackmores, yeah, as well. The only American I can remember. The Islamic expansion also had their own race hierarchies with Arab Muslims at the top. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. But I'd say the thing with that one is the Arab like supremacy stuff was mainly a feature of pre-Ottoman Middle East, which I don't think like. Obviously, it was always like I talk about like Muslim supremacy, Arab supremacy, which I talked about with the Barbary slave trade, but also as while they hated the Turks when they first came to Middle East, obviously you're being ruled by the Ottoman Turks. It's kind of hard, you know, when you think their sultan is your caliph to be like racist against the Turks then. Yeah, that's funny actually, Blake. That's a good point. It's like in Wolfenstein when the Nazis would call the clan scum. Yeah, that's a good bit actually. So you are what they call Black Irish. Maybe that's what it is. I haven't really heard that term too much. Yeah, racism is fueled by power dynamics. I mean, yeah, that's how it's constructed. Because European colonialism and stuff is how it was spread. Yeah, yeah. Fundamentalist religion, nope. Has any place in politics? No way. Thanks so much for the donation, comrade. Love your content. Your nuanced takes makes it clear there are no simple answers in a complex world. Yeah. Once you down a rabbit hole, there are no like simple answers. Yeah, DUP leader is crazy. Like DUP are just mad. I never said Morocco was ruled by the Ottomans. Yeah, that's what Moroccans pride themselves on. We're like, we've been our own independent kingdom since 16 something. I've been to Morocco. It was nice. It's very westernized, a lot of Morocco. To be fair, I only went to the north though. And a bit cooler than Spain, like in terms of the weather. Was cool to see though. Moroccan history is very interesting. Western Sahara stuff's fucked up though. And that's what, to end this stuff, that's what I hope the recent discourse on Palestine will open up a bit more, where we can talk about like Western Sahara and Kashmir a bit more. Did I say Morocco? I didn't remember saying Morocco was ruled by the Ottomans. I might have said North Africa. Morocco obviously had Spanish and French colonies. I don't remember saying Morocco was a colony. And if I did, I just misspoke, because I've been to Morocco, and like I read up on the history before, and that's something they like pride themselves on. Like, we've been an independent kingdom, blah blah blah. And obviously, Morocco has quite a strong history of America. Wasn't it like one of the first countries to recognize American independence? I think as well. Do I have any book suggestions? What do you want suggestions for? I don't have many suggestions. I'm not much of a reader, to be honest. There's a couple books I recommended the other stream as well. Yeah, but Tangier is cool because of the American stuff they have there. Like, it actually looks like America in the hills, but they have a lot of stuff named after American things. Am I right in saying, Mr. Boot, Morocco is either the first or one of the first countries to recognize American independence? So they've always been like kind of chummy because of that. What was I gonna say? But yeah, so I hope the Palestine stuff opens up a lot more people to thinking about other places, like I said, Western Sahara or Kashmir, and what the Indian security forces are doing there and stuff. But yeah, no, it's been a fun stream. We've gone off massively from the title about Geeks and Gamers to talking about medieval Spain and racial hierarchies. But basically, if any of you have joined later, the stream's about 2 hours. Yeah, Morocco is the first country to recognize U.S. independence. Yeah, because when we went there, the tour guide was saying a lot about that. Like, it's why it has such a strong history with America, and why in Tangier there's a lot of stuff named after Americans and stuff. All right, anyway, we've hit the 2 hour mark. So I guess we'll end it here. So basically, I'll try and research that Zack Snyder video tonight a bit more. So make that tomorrow. Stream again on Thursday. maybe, because I'm going on another stream on Thursday, so maybe I'll do my stream as well. And then Friday, I'm not sure. I might make my video on YouTube's being shitty capitalist bosses. So we'll see about that. And yeah, check out my video on South Vietnamese refugees from yesterday if you haven't. And yeah, like I said, if you want to catch up on this stream, hopefully it will be up tonight on my second channel, the Tabernacle Extra. So go subscribe to that if you want to check out my streams after they're all done. And yeah, that's it for tonight. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I had quite a lot of people watching for the whole way through, so thanks for sticking with the really vast array of topics we cover in this stream, from racial hierarchies to Blade Runner and Ben Shapiro to Geeks and Gamers and LeBron James. It's a very, very diverse channel. But thanks everyone for sticking with it. Appreciate the support as always. And if you want me, or if you want to tune into another stream, Thursday we should be back. So every Tuesday and Thursday at the moment. And again, if you want to catch up on anything we did on the stream, second channel, the whole thing will go up hopefully soon. But thanks so much, guys.